Hey everyone, welcome back. We love to go deep, and today we're diving into some pretty fascinating stuff. The woman men adore. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, it's a program by Bob Grant, a relationship expert. I've come across his work before.
So from what I've gathered, he's got some pretty strong opinions about how to make a relationship work, but he also backs it up with, psychology and anecdotes and stuff.
He does. He blends personal experience, clinical observations, and a good dose of, I guess you could call it evolutionary psychology.
Okay, so right off the bat, he hits us with this concept of the giving pit. Basically, he's saying that women often fall into this trap of giving too much in a relationship.
Yeah, he argues that it's almost counterintuitive, but when a woman constantly prioritizes a man's needs above her own, it can actually backfire.
Like, you think you're being the good girlfriend or wife, but it can actually make a man lose interest.
That's his argument. He says it can lead to a man taking you for granted, feeling smothered, or even losing respect.
Wow, okay, I can see how that might happen. But then the question is, what's the alternative? Like, how do you create that spark, that attraction, without overgiving?
Well, that's where Grant introduces this concept he calls the campfire effect.
The campfire effect, huh? I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So he uses this analogy of a campfire, right? The warmth, the mesmerizing flames, the way it draws people in. He says this is the feeling a woman should aim to evoke in a man.
Okay, I get the analogy,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you translate that into, like, actual behavior?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. He has some pretty specific tips.
Lay it on me. I'm ready for some relationship secrets.
All right, well, one of the things he emphasizes is the importance of creating tension.
Tension. Wait a minute.
Mhm.
Isn't the goal to have a peaceful, harmonious relationship?
That's what we're often told. But Grant argues that a little bit of healthy tension can actually be a good thing. He says men are wired to pursue, to conquer, to earn a woman's affection.
So it's about keeping him on his toes a little bit, not
Yeah.
being too easy to get.
Exactly. It's about sparking his interest, keeping him guessing, making him work for your attention a little.
Interesting. So it's like a little bit of push and pull.
You could say that he also talks about the importance of never arguing.
Never argue. Isn't communication key in a relationship?
It is. But he believes traditional arguments, with all the anger and blame, can actually be counterproductive.
So what's the alternative? How do you address issues without arguing?
He suggests finding other ways to express displeasure that evoke empathy and understanding. He even mentions using a specific tone of voice, a magical tone, he calls it, that makes a man want to listen and make you happy.
A magical tone. Okay, now I'm really curious. What does that even sound like?
I guess we'll have to dive deeper into his program to find out. But
Yeah.
the point is, he's trying to shift the focus away from conflict and towards connection.
Okay, so create tension, don't argue. What else?
Another big one is this: give less than you receive.
Whoa, hold on. That sounds a little, I don't know, selfish. Shouldn't a relationship be about giving and taking equally?
That's the conventional wisdom. But Grant believes that focusing on receiving allows the man to feel the satisfaction of making you happy.
So it's not about being a doormat. It's about allowing him to step up and be the provider.
Exactly. It taps into that inherent masculine desire to take care of a woman, to make her feel loved and cherished.
Wow. Okay. This is definitely challenging some of my preconceived notions about relationships. I'm starting to see how these ideas could be pretty powerful.
Me too.
Uh,
It's definitely making me rethink some things.
so where do we go from here? What's next in our deep dive into the woman men adore?
Well, Grant breaks down his approach into a 5-module program. Let's take a closer look at each module and see what kind of practical advice he offers.
Sounds good to me. Let's unpack this a bit further.
All right, so Module 1 is all about identifying and expressing the crucial emotion that men need to feel truly loved.
And what is that, pray tell? What's the secret ingredient?
He doesn't reveal it explicitly in the excerpts you shared, but he claims that many women unintentionally hide this quality, leading to misunderstandings and frustration.
Ooh, a little bit of mystery. I like it. Keep me on my toes.
He does say that a woman needs to understand a man's needs even more than he does himself.
Interesting. So it's not just about meeting his needs, but really understanding what drives him at a deeper level.
Exactly. Then Module 2 dives into understanding a man's deepest desires and how to fulfill them.
So it's getting down to the nitty-gritty of what makes men tick.
Yeah, he seems to be advocating for a deeper level of empathy and understanding in relationships.
Then there's Module 3, right? What's that one all about?
Module 3 is about navigating the transformation process. He prepares women for the shifts they can expect to see in a man's behavior as they start applying these techniques.
So it's like a roadmap for what to expect when you start shifting the dynamics in the relationship.
Exactly. Then Module 4 seems to be where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Ah, the practical application. I love it. Let's hear it.
He gets into specific behaviors and subtle cues that trigger male attraction. It's like he's decoding a secret language.
Ooh, I love a good secret language. And finally, Module 5.
Module 5 is about mastering the art of communication to create a lasting and fulfilling relationship.
So it sounds like he's covering all the bases. From understanding male psychology to mastering the subtle art of communication. This campfire effect thing is sounding more and more intriguing. But does it really work?
I mean, he does include a bunch of testimonials from women who claim to have seen incredible results using his program.
Right. Yeah, he talks about like Tina, this single mom in her 40s, who says she's suddenly attracting all these younger guys.
Right, and then there's Carrie, who's like about to get married after years of being single. She credits Grant's techniques for turning things around.
Okay, so those are pretty impressive stories. But we always have to be careful with testimonials, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's just one side of the story. You never know all the other factors that might be at play.
Exactly. It's like correlation doesn't equal causation and all that. But still, you have to admit, these stories are kind of compelling.
Oh, for sure. It makes you wonder, what if there is something to this campfire effect? What if there really are these hidden triggers that can influence attraction?
Yeah. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, but that's why we're here, right? To explore these ideas and see what we can learn.
Exactly. So getting back to the program itself, you mentioned the 5 modules. What are your thoughts on how he structures everything?
It seems pretty well thought out, right? Like, he starts with Module 1, which is all about identifying that one crucial emotion that men need to feel loved.
And then Module 2 builds on that by delving into their deepest desires. It's like he's creating this step-by-step guide to understanding the male psyche.
Right. And then Module 3 is all about preparing for the transformation process, like what to expect when you start using these techniques and how to handle the changes that come up.
Which makes sense because any kind of personal growth can be challenging. It's good to have some guidance along the way.
Totally. And then in Module 4, he gets into the nitty-gritty details, the specific behaviors and cues that can supposedly trigger attraction.
It's like he's giving you the secret decoder ring for men's hearts.
Uh-huh, yeah. And then Module 5 is all about communication, like how to create that deeper connection and make it last.
So it's a pretty comprehensive approach. He seems to be covering all the bases.
He does. He even throws in some bonus materials, specifically for married women, which I think is smart. Because, let's be real, keeping the spark alive over the long haul is a whole other challenge.
Totally. And it shows that he's thinking about the different stages of relationships and the unique challenges that come with each.
Okay, so we've talked about the giving pit, the campfire effect, and the 5 modules. Anything else stand out to you about Grant's program?
Well, I think it's interesting that he offers a money-back guarantee.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty bold.
It shows that he really believes in his methods. Right. He's willing to put his money where his mouth is, so to speak.
Exactly. Okay, so even with all these intriguing elements, I think it's important to acknowledge that this kind of self-help material isn't for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Some people might find his approach too manipulative, or maybe a little outdated in terms of gender roles.
Right. And that's totally valid. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to relationship.
Exactly. What works for one person might not work for another. It all comes down to your own values and what you're looking for in a partner.
And I think that's where self-awareness is so important. You have to know yourself and what you're truly comfortable with.
Totally. And it's also about being open to trying new things. You don't have to take everything literally or apply it rigidly.
Right. It's about taking what resonates with you and leaving the rest behind.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and your unique relationship.
But at the end of the day, I think Grant's message about understanding the deeper emotional currents in relationships is super relevant.
I agree. Whether you're single or in a committed relationship, whether you agree with all his methods or not, I think there's something to be gained from understanding the psychology of attraction.
Totally. And that's why we encourage you to check out Bob Grant's Woman Men at Door program for yourself.
We've included a link in the description where you can learn more.
Exactly. We're not here to endorse or condemn his approach, but we do think it's worth exploring.
Ultimately, the choice is yours.
Okay, so we've unpacked a lot about Bob Grant's approach, from the giving pit to the campfire effect. What's your overall takeaway?
I think there's definitely some food for thought in there. Even if you don't agree with everything he says, He makes some valid points about the differences in how men and women approach relationships.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things I appreciate about his approach is that it's not about manipulating men. It's about women understanding their own power.
Right. He emphasizes that his techniques aren't about playing games. It's about authenticity and expressing yourself in a way that feels genuine.
Exactly. It's about owning your worth and not being afraid to let a man pursue you.
And he also talks about how women often sabotage their relationships by hiding their true selves, trying to be too independent or too accommodating.
Yeah, he says that a lot of women are actually craving that deep connection, but they're sending out mixed signals without even realizing it.
Right, so it's about aligning your inner world with your outer world so that you can attract the kind of man who truly appreciates you.
And when you do that, it creates that natural magnetism, that campfire effect that he talks about.
Exactly. It's not about faking it. It's about being your best self and allowing yourself to be loved.
And I think that's a message that resonates with a lot of women,
Yeah.
whether they're single or in a relationship.
Yeah, I agree. He even offers a money-back guarantee if a woman doesn't see results after trying his program.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That is pretty impressive. It shows that he really stands behind his methods.
It does. He believes in what he's teaching.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this.
Hmm.
We've explored a lot of Grant's ideas. Some you might resonate with, others you might completely disagree with.
But what matters most is that you walk away from this conversation feeling empowered to create the kind of relationships you desire.
Exactly. And whether you decide to explore Bob Grant's Woman Men Adore program further or not is entirely up to you.
We've included a link in the description where you can learn more and decide if it's right for you.
And even if it's not your cup of tea, I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought about the fascinating and often complex dynamics between men and women.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's all about understanding yourself, understanding your partner, and finding those points of connection that create a truly fulfilling and lasting bond.
So keep those conversations going, keep exploring, and keep those campfire flames burning bright.
Until next time, happy deep diving, everyone.
Bye, everyone.